The Battle of Bannockburn took place in a strategically vital location near the town of Stirling in central Scotland. The battlefield was situated along the Bannockburn, a small stream that flows into the River Forth, approximately 2 miles south of Stirling Castle. This location was crucial as Stirling Castle represented one of the most important strongholds in Scotland, effectively controlling the gateway between the Highlands and Lowlands. The battle occurred on June 23 and 24, 1314, during the First War of Scottish Independence. This period marked a tumultuous time in Scottish history, as the nation had been fighting for its independence from English control since 1296. The conflict began when Edward I of England, known as Hammer of the Scots, had taken advantage of a succession crisis in Scotland to assert his authority over the kingdom. Prior to the battle, Scotland endured severe hardships under English dominion. The English crown imposed harsh policies, replacing Scottish officials with English administrators and demanding hefty taxes from the Scottish population. The English occupation brought significant social upheaval, with Scottish nobles being required to swear fealty to the English crown or face exile and forfeiture of their lands. Many Scottish castles were garrisoned by English troops, and Scottish towns were subjected to English law and governance. The political situation was particularly complex, as many Scottish nobles had divided loyalties, with some supporting English rule for their own benefit, while others remained committed to Scottish independence. The Scottish Church, traditionally independent, faced pressure to submit to English ecclesiastical authority. Common people suffered under the burden of increased taxation and the presence of English military forces, leading to widespread resentment and support for independence. The area around Stirling was particularly significant because it represented the last remaining Scottish stronghold under English control in the region. The castle's strategic position made it a vital military objective for both sides, as whoever controlled Stirling could effectively control movement between northern and southern Scotland. The surrounding terrain, characterized by boggy ground and woodland, would prove instrumental in the battle's outcome, as the Scottish forces under Robert the Bruce would use these natural features to their advantage against the larger English army. This historical context set the stage for what would become one of the most decisive battles in Scottish history, marking a crucial turning point in Scotland's long struggle for independence from English rule. If you are passionate about the Middle Ages and want to embark on this historical journey with us, like the video and subscribe to the channel The Medieval Archives so you don't miss any fascinating content. Robert the Bruce, born Robert de Bruce in 1274, emerged as one of Scotland's greatest military and political leaders. Before becoming King of Scots in 1306, he had witnessed the struggles of William Wallace and learned valuable lessons about guerrilla warfare and Scottish resistance. Despite initial setbacks, including defeats and periods of exile, Bruce developed into a brilliant tactical commander. His personal journey from a nobleman with divided loyalties to the champion of Scottish independence illustrated the complex nature of medieval Scottish-English relations. Known for both his military prowess and political acumen, Bruce combined physical strength with strategic thinking, famously using Scotland's terrain and weather to his advantage. Among Bruce's most trusted commanders, Sir James Douglas, known as the Black Douglas, stood out as a fearsome warrior and skilled military leader. Douglas earned his reputation through numerous successful raids against English forces, becoming so feared that English mothers would reportedly quiet their children by warning that the Black Douglas would get them. His loyalty to Bruce never wavered, and his innovative tactical approaches, particularly in guerrilla warfare, proved invaluable to the Scottish cause. Thomas Randolph, Earl of Moray and Bruce's nephew, represented another crucial figure in the Scottish command. Initially opposing Bruce, Randolph later became one of his most trusted lieutenants. His military expertise was demonstrated in the successful capture of Edinburgh Castle through stealth and his command of the left wing at Bannockburn. Randolph's ability to handle both conventional warfare and irregular operations made him an indispensable part of Bruce's military leadership. On the English side, King Edward II presented a stark contrast to his father, Edward I, who had earned the moniker Hammer of the Scots. Edward II, who assumed the throne in 1307, lacked his father's military expertise and political shrewdness. His leadership was characterized by indecision and poor judgment, often influenced by his favorites rather than experienced military commanders. Despite commanding a significantly larger and better equipped army at Bannockburn, his tactical incompetence would prove disastrous. Edward II's key commanders included the Earl of Gloucester, who advised against rushing into battle on unfavorable terrain, but was ultimately ignored. The Earl of Hereford, who served as constable of the English army, similarly found his military experience overlooked by the king's impetuous decision-making. This dysfunction in the English command structure would prove crucial to the battle's outcome. The English army also included experienced knights and warriors from various parts of Edward's realm, including Welsh archers and men-at-arms from across England. However, their effectiveness was hampered by poor leadership and coordination from the top, highlighting how the quality of command could overcome numerical and technological advantages. These contrasting leadership styles and personalities played a crucial role in the battle's outcome. While the Scottish side demonstrated unity of purpose and clear chain of command under Bruce's leadership, the English forces suffered from their king's inadequate military leadership and internal disagreements among commanders. This difference in leadership quality would prove to be one of the decisive factors in what would become a defining moment in Scottish history. The Battle of Bannockburn emerged from a complex web of historical grievances, political ambitions, and cultural differences that had been brewing for generations between Scotland and England. The fundamental cause stemmed from Scotland's fierce desire to maintain its independence against English attempts at domination, a struggle that had intensified since 1296 when Edward I of England first invaded Scotland. The roots of the conflict stretched back to 1286, when the death of Alexander III of Scotland, without a clear heir, created a succession crisis. Edward I's intervention in this crisis, initially as an arbitrator, quickly transformed into an opportunity for English expansion. His installation of John Balliol as a puppet king, followed by direct English rule, marked the beginning of a period of harsh occupation that deeply scarred Scottish society. The English occupation brought severe changes to Scottish governance, including the replacement of Scottish laws with English ones, the installation of English officials in key positions, and the imposition of heavy taxation to fund English military campaigns. Edward II's ambitions, though less competently pursued than his father's, centered on completing the work of subjugating Scotland that Edward I had begun. Despite his personal shortcomings as a military leader, Edward II remained determined to assert English supremacy over Scotland, viewing the Northern Kingdom as a rightful part of his domain. His perspective was shaped by the medieval concept of feudal overlordship, which his father had forcefully established over Scotland. The younger Edward's ambition to crush the Scottish rebellion was also driven by domestic political concerns, as his authority in England was frequently challenged, and a decisive victory over Scotland could strengthen his position at home. The clash between Scotland and England reflected deeper cultural and political differences between the two kingdoms. Scotland had developed its own distinct political traditions, including a more consultative relationship between monarch and nobles, known as the Community of the Realm. This contrasted with the more centralized, Norman-influenced governance style of England. The Scottish system of clan loyalties and Highland culture stood in stark opposition to the feudal structure that the English sought to impose. Religious tensions also played a role, as the Scottish Church had traditionally maintained independence from English ecclesiastical authority, answering directly to Rome. The English attempts to bring the Scottish Church under their control added another layer to the conflict, touching on both spiritual and temporal authority. The economic aspects of the conflict cannot be overlooked. England's occupation had disrupted traditional trade patterns and imposed new economic burdens on Scotland. The English crown's practice of rewarding its supporters with Scottish lands and titles created a class of dispossessed Scottish nobles, further fueling resistance to English rule. There was also a fundamental difference in how each side viewed the nature of kingship and national sovereignty. The Scots, as articulated in the Declaration of Arbroath, which would come after Bannockburn, held that their king's authority derived from the people's consent and was conditional on protecting their independence. This stood in contrast to the English view of more absolute royal authority and their belief in their right to overlordship of the entire British Isles. The immediate trigger for the Battle of Bannockburn was the siege of Stirling Castle, one of the last English-held strongholds in Scotland. The agreement that the castle would surrender to the Scots, if not relieved by Midsummer's Day 1314, forced both sides into a decisive confrontation. This military necessity, however, merely brought to a head the deeper conflicts over sovereignty, culture, and political independence that had been building for decades. These multiple layers of conflict, political, cultural, economic, and religious, made the Battle of Bannockburn much more than a simple military engagement. It represented a crucial moment in a long-standing struggle between two distinct nations with different visions of their relationship and their future, making the outcome all the more significant for both sides. Robert the Bruce's preparations for the Battle of Bannockburn demonstrated his exceptional military acumen and understanding of tactical advantage. In the weeks leading up to the battle, Bruce meticulously selected and prepared the battlefield, choosing terrain that would neutralize the English army's numerical superiority and heavy cavalry advantage. The Scottish king recognized that victory would require more than just courage. It would demand careful planning and strategic ingenuity. The chosen battlefield near Stirling Castle offered several natural advantages. The area was flanked by dense woodlands known as the New Park on one side and the Bannockburn stream on the other, creating a natural bottleneck that would force the English army to fight in a confined space. This negated their ability to deploy their full numbers effectively and limited the maneuverability of their feared heavy cavalry. Bruce further enhanced these natural defenses by ordering his men to dig hidden pits, called pots, across the likely paths of English cavalry charges. These pots were ingeniously concealed with branches and turf, creating a deadly trap for charging horses. Bruce also had his men construct caltrops, sharp, four-pointed metal spikes that could lame horses when scattered on the ground. The placement of these defensive measures was carefully planned to channel the English forces into killing zones where Scottish infantry could engage them most effectively. Bruce organized his army into infantry formations called schiltrons, tight, circular formations of spearmen that could effectively resist cavalry charges. These formations were practiced extensively in the days before the battle, with soldiers drilling in coordinated movement and maintaining formation discipline. The Scottish army was divided into four main schiltrons, each commanded by experienced leaders including Bruce himself, Edward Bruce, his brother, Thomas Randolph, and James Douglas. The Scottish king also implemented an innovative system of battlefield communication using horns and flags, ensuring his commanders could coordinate their actions effectively during the battle. He positioned archers in the wooded areas to harass the English flanks and established hidden reserves that could exploit any opportunities that arose during the fighting. Perhaps most importantly, Bruce spent considerable time boosting his troops' morale. He understood that his smaller force, numbering around 6,000 to 7,000 men compared to the English army of about 15,000 to 25,000, would need extraordinary courage and discipline to prevail. He spoke to his men of their homes, families, and Scotland's freedom, turning their numerical disadvantage into a source of motivation rather than despair. If you've enjoyed learning about these fascinating medieval military tactics, please don't forget to like this video and subscribe to Medieval Chronicles for more incredible stories from history. How do you think the outcome of the Battle of Bannockburn might have been different if Robert the Bruce hadn't had time to prepare the battlefield with hidden traps and defensive positions? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Join the Medieval Archives community to explore more pivotal moments in medieval history. Don't forget to ring the notification bell to stay updated on our latest historical content. The Battle of Bannockburn began on June 23, 1314, with an incident that would foreshadow the entire conflict. As the English army approached, Henry de Bohun, an English knight, spotted Robert the Bruce personally inspecting his troops. De Bohun, seeing an opportunity for glory, charged directly at the Scottish king. Bruce, mounted on a small horse and armed only with a battle axe, stood his ground. At the last moment, he maneuvered his mount aside and, standing in his stirrups, split de Bohun's helmet and head with a single mighty blow of his axe. This dramatic episode enormously boosted Scottish morale while shocking the English forces. The main battle commenced with the English vanguard advancing toward the Scottish positions. The heavily armored English cavalry, considered the finest in Europe, moved forward with supreme confidence. However, their charge was immediately disrupted by the hidden pots and caltrops that Bruce had prepared. Horses stumbled and fell, breaking legs and throwing riders, while others reared and crashed into each other, creating chaos in the English ranks. The tight formation of English knights, intended to break through Scottish lines, instead became a liability as they couldn't maneuver in the confined space. A crucial moment occurred when the English cavalry, attempting to outflank the Scottish position, became bogged down in the marshy ground near the Bannockburn. The Scottish schiltrons, displaying remarkable discipline, advanced like giant hedgehogs of steel, their spears presenting an impenetrable wall to the floundering English horsemen. The English archers, attempting to support their cavalry, found their arrows largely ineffective against the tight Scottish formations, while many struck their own cavalry in the confused melee. The battle's tide turned decisively when Bruce ordered his schiltrons to advance in unison, an unprecedented tactic for what was traditionally a defensive formation. The coordinated movement of these spear walls caught the English completely by surprise. Simultaneously, Bruce unleashed his hidden reserve force, which emerged from the woods on the English flank. The psychological impact was devastating. The English troops, already disorganized, began to waver. As panic spread through the English ranks, Edward II's personal guard urged him to flee, fearing the capture or death of the king. His departure from the battlefield triggered a complete collapse of English morale. The retreat quickly turned into a rout, with English soldiers throwing away their weapons and armor as they fled. Many drowned trying to cross the Bannockburn or the River Forth, while others were cut down by pursuing Scottish forces. The Scottish infantry's discipline was remarkable throughout the battle. Despite the temptation to break formation and pursue fleeing enemies, they maintained their schiltrons until Bruce gave the order for a general advance. This discipline proved crucial as it prevented any possibility of an English rally and counterattack. The fighting continued into June 24th, but by then it was more of a pursuit than a battle. The English army, one of the largest ever fielded by the English crown, had been completely shattered. Edward II barely escaped capture, eventually reaching Dunbar Castle and taking a ship back to England. The English casualties were enormous, including many noble prisoners who would later be ransomed for substantial sums. One of the most dramatic moments came when the Scottish army captured the English baggage train, which contained not only valuable supplies and weapons, but also the royal treasury and various symbols of English authority. This material windfall would help finance Scotland's continued independence struggle. The battle represented a masterclass in medieval warfare, demonstrating how superior tactics, preparation, and leadership could overcome significant disadvantages in numbers and equipment. Bruce's combination of strategic preparation, tactical flexibility, and inspirational leadership had achieved what many had thought impossible: a decisive victory over a numerically superior and better equipped English army. The victory was comprehensive, transforming what had been a guerrilla war of resistance into a full-scale war of liberation. The Battle of Bannockburn stands as a testament to the effectiveness of well-disciplined infantry against cavalry and the importance of choosing and preparing the battlefield to maximize tactical advantages. The conclusion of the Battle of Bannockburn marked one of the most dramatic reversals of fortune in medieval military history. After 2 days of intense fighting, the mighty English army lay in ruins, with their proud cavalry scattered, their infantry broken, and their king in humiliating flight. The scale of the English defeat was unprecedented, transforming the political landscape of Britain overnight. The final phase of the battle witnessed scenes of utter chaos among the English forces. As Edward II fled the battlefield under the protection of his personal guard, the remaining English army disintegrated into panic-stricken masses. The once proud formations collapsed into a desperate scramble for survival. English knights, who had arrived adorned in expensive armor and mounted on magnificent war horses, now abandoned their equipment in their desperate attempt to escape. Many noblemen, weighed down by their armor, drowned in the Bannockburn or the River Forth during their retreat. The immediate aftermath was catastrophic for the English army. The roads south were littered with discarded weapons, armor, and supplies. The Scottish pursuit was relentless, with light cavalry and infantry hunting down fleeing English soldiers. The capture of the English baggage train provided the Scots with an enormous windfall of supplies, weapons, and treasure. More significantly, many English nobles were captured, including numerous wealthy knights whose ransoms would later fill Scottish coffers. The psychological impact of the victory was profound and far-reaching. For the English, who had long considered themselves militarily superior to the Scots, the defeat shattered their sense of invincibility. The flight of Edward II, who had to take a ship from Dunbar to Berwick to avoid capture, became a symbol of English humiliation. The defeat was particularly bitter because it came at the hands of an army they had drastically outnumbered and out-equipped. For the Scots, the victory transcended its military significance. It became a powerful symbol of national identity and pride. The triumph of Robert the Bruce, who had once been dismissed as a fugitive king hiding in the Highlands, now stood as irrefutable proof of Scottish capability and determination. The victory transformed Bruce from a controversial claimant to the Scottish throne into a national hero and undisputed leader. The immediate consequences were dramatic. Many Scottish nobles who had previously hedged their bets, maintaining loyalty to both sides, now openly declared for Bruce. The victory also brought international recognition, with European powers beginning to treat Scotland as an independent kingdom rather than an English possession. French and papal diplomats, who had previously dismissed Scottish claims to independence, now sought diplomatic relations with Bruce's government. Among the common people of Scotland, the victory sparked unprecedented celebrations. Stories of the battle spread rapidly, growing in the telling, with particular emphasis on Bruce's personal combat with de Bohun and the routing of the English cavalry. These tales would be passed down through generations, becoming cornerstone elements of Scottish national identity. The strategic impact was equally significant. The English garrison at Stirling Castle, as agreed, surrendered to the Scots. Other English-held strongholds in Scotland began to fall as their garrisons lost confidence and local support shifted decisively to the Scottish cause. The border regions, long contested, now came under firm Scottish control, and for the first time in years, Scottish forces were able to mount raids into northern England from a position of strength. The defeat also had severe repercussions for Edward II's authority in England. His military incompetence and personal cowardice in fleeing the field became powerful weapons for his domestic opponents. The massive loss of men, materials, and prestige severely weakened his position and contributed to the political crises that would eventually lead to his deposition. The victory at Bannockburn represented more than just a military triumph. It marked the rebirth of Scotland as an independent nation. The battle demonstrated that determination, skilled leadership, and tactical brilliance could overcome seemingly insurmountable odds. It became a powerful symbol of Scottish independence and resilience, one that would inspire resistance to English domination for centuries to come. The image of a smaller, well-led force defeating a superior enemy through courage and cunning became deeply embedded in Scottish cultural memory, helping to forge a distinct national identity that persists to the present day. The Battle of Bannockburn's legacy extends far beyond its immediate military outcome, resonating through centuries of Scottish history and national identity. This pivotal moment fundamentally transformed Scotland's political landscape and established enduring symbols of Scottish independence and resilience. Robert the Bruce's victory at Bannockburn cemented his position as the undisputed leader of Scotland. Before the battle, some Scottish nobles had questioned his legitimacy and leadership. The decisive triumph silenced his critics and united the Scottish nobility behind him. Bruce's tactical brilliance and personal bravery during the battle became legendary, establishing him as one of Scotland's greatest monarchs. His leadership style, combining military prowess with political acumen, set a standard for Scottish rulers that would be referenced for generations. The battle's impact on Scottish independence was profound and far-reaching. The victory forced England to recognize Scotland's sovereignty, leading to the Declaration of Arbroath in 1320, and eventually the Treaty of Edinburgh-Northampton in 1328, which formally acknowledged Scotland's independence. This period of independence lasted nearly 4 centuries until the Union of Crowns in 1603, allowing Scotland to develop its distinct political and cultural institutions. Bannockburn's inspirational value for future generations cannot be overstated. Throughout subsequent centuries, Scottish patriots frequently invoked the battle as a symbol of national resistance and self-determination. During times of conflict with England, Scottish leaders would rally support by referencing Bannockburn, reminding their followers how a smaller force had successfully defended their homeland against a superior enemy. The battle became a cornerstone of Scottish national mythology, celebrated in countless songs, poems, and stories. The victory's significance as an example of a smaller force triumphing over a larger, better-equipped army has resonated well beyond Scotland's borders. Military historians study the battle as a classic example of how superior tactics, careful preparation, and inspired leadership can overcome numerical disadvantages. Bruce's innovative use of terrain, combined with disciplined infantry formations, demonstrated principles that would influence military thinking for centuries. Bannockburn's cultural impact on Scottish society has been equally profound. The battle site became a place of pilgrimage and national commemoration, with monuments and visitor centers drawing people from around the world. The battle's anniversary is still celebrated, and its stories are taught in Scottish schools as a crucial moment in national history. The event has inspired countless works of art, literature, and music, helping to preserve and transmit Scottish cultural heritage across generations. The battle's legacy also influenced Scotland's political development. The memory of Bannockburn has frequently been invoked during periods of Scottish nationalist sentiment, serving as a powerful symbol of Scottish sovereignty and self-determination. During debates about Scottish independence and home rule, Bannockburn is often referenced as proof of Scotland's historical tradition of independence and its ability to govern itself. In modern times, the Battle of Bannockburn continues to captivate imaginations and inspire discussions about nationalism, independence, and identity. The battle site remains a powerful symbol of Scottish heritage, drawing visitors who seek to connect with this pivotal moment in history. The victory's enduring legacy serves as a reminder that determined leadership, strategic thinking, and national unity can overcome seemingly insurmountable odds. The triumph of Bannockburn demonstrates how a single battle can shape a nation's destiny and cultural identity for centuries. It stands as a testament to the power of conviction, leadership, and tactical brilliance in determining historical outcomes. The battle's legacy continues to influence discussions about Scottish independence and national identity, making it not just a historical event, but a living symbol of Scottish determination and sovereignty. The Battle of Bannockburn offers profound lessons that resonate across centuries, teaching us about leadership, determination, and the enduring human spirit. This historic conflict provides insights that remain remarkably relevant to modern discourse about freedom, independence, and national identity. The battle demonstrates how determination can overcome seemingly insurmountable odds. The Scottish forces, despite being heavily outnumbered and facing a better-equipped enemy, prevailed through superior strategy, unwavering resolve, and unified purpose. This teaches us that numerical or material superiority does not guarantee success. Rather, the commitment to a cause, combined with intelligent leadership and careful planning, can overcome significant disadvantages. Robert the Bruce's leadership style offers timeless lessons in effective governance and military command. His ability to unite diverse factions under a common cause, his tactical innovation, and his personal courage on the battlefield exemplify how true leadership combines both practical skill and inspirational qualities. His success shows how a leader must balance careful preparation with bold action and personal bravery with strategic thinking. The Scottish victory reveals the power of fighting for deeply held beliefs and values. The Scottish army wasn't merely fighting for territory or resources. They were defending their right to self-determination and cultural identity. This deeper motivation proved more powerful than the English army's professional discipline and material advantages. Modern movements for independence and self-determination often draw parallels to this aspect of Bannockburn, finding inspiration in how a unified people can resist external domination. The battle also teaches us about the importance of innovation and adaptation. The Scots' use of terrain, creative tactical solutions, and novel military formations demonstrates how innovative thinking can overcome traditional advantages. This lesson remains relevant in today's world, where those facing stronger opponents must often find creative solutions to prevail. In contemporary terms, Bannockburn's lessons about asymmetric warfare and resistance to larger powers continue to influence military and political thinking. The battle shows how a smaller force can effectively resist a larger power by choosing favorable terrain, using innovative tactics, and maintaining high morale through strong leadership and clear purpose. The Scottish victory provides enduring lessons about national identity and cultural preservation. The battle wasn't just about political independence. It was about preserving a distinct cultural and national identity. This aspect resonates strongly in modern debates about globalization, cultural autonomy, and national sovereignty. The aftermath of Bannockburn demonstrates how a single decisive victory can transform political relationships and national destinies. However, it also shows that such victories must be consolidated through diplomatic and political efforts, as exemplified by the subsequent declaration of Arbroath and treaty negotiations with England. For modern audiences, Bannockburn offers particular relevance in understanding conflicts between established powers and movements for self-determination. The battle reminds us that the desire for freedom and self-governance remains a powerful motivator in human affairs, capable of overcoming significant material and numerical disadvantages. Thank you for joining us on this historic journey through one of Scotland's most defining moments. If you've enjoyed this exploration of the Battle of Bannockburn, Please take a moment to support the medieval archives. Like this video to help others discover this fascinating piece of history. Share your thoughts in the comments below. How do you think Bannockburn's lessons apply to today's world? Share this video with friends and family who appreciate history. Subscribe to the Medieval Archives for more compelling stories from medieval history. Hit the notification bell to stay updated on our latest historical content. Join our growing community of history enthusiasts as we continue to explore the fascinating stories that shaped our world. Together, let's keep the lessons of history alive and relevant for future generations. The Medieval Archives, where history comes alive.